Hello once again, Dr. Scientist here. Still giggling, getting a kick out of that name. Still makes me laugh, which is why I chose it. But today I'm going to be talking about a subject which so many people have been talking about recently, which is COVID-19, coronavirus, pandemic, whatever you want to call it. Mainstream media has been covering it in a very limited way and presenting it in a very limited way. This is going to be a slightly different interpretation, sort of what some would call a parallel reality um, to what they know and think. But that is so. What are the origins of this virus or situation right now? And understanding these things is huge. It's extremely important. That's why I'm doing this. I feel like, if you smoke cigarettes, if you smoke a pack a day and you get lung cancer and you don't know it's because you're smoking cigarettes, you're going to keep doing that. And, even if you get treatments for it, if you still keep smoking and get cancer again, then, you're not really dealing with the root cause of the issue. Of course, there are other reasons for getting cancer, which I won't go into in this video. That's just an analogy or a metaphor for understanding the importance of knowing the root causes of things. And so if people don't know them, then they're going to keep doing the same things over and over until they learn. So the narrative that's being put out to many people is that this virus was caused by a few people eating bad food in a market in China. And that's just, again, perhaps in some parallel reality that's the case. But for me, that just doesn't make sense because how would a global pandemic start from a few people in an isolated place eating some bad food? Now, again, everything's basically parallel realities that other people are observing and co-creating. So I understand that there are other scenarios where the pandemic is man-made or it's caused by technology like 5G and other things like that. But this is a particular narrative that I have never heard mentioned in either mainstream media or even a lot of alternative media. But again, ultimately, you kind of have to decide what's true for you and whatever resonates with you more. So the narrative which makes more sense to me is that this global pandemic was caused by global environmental degradation, destruction of ecosystems, pollution, things like that, whereby viruses are contained within certain ecosystems. And if those ecosystems are destroyed, then that releases the virus out into more uh, areas, and people will pick up on that and transmit that. So that is one reality, one way that this has been going on, and it makes more sense to me because this situation is all over the planet, and it didn't just originate in China and then all of a sudden, boom, it's everywhere. It's everywhere on this planet because there is so much pollution and ecosystem degradation in so many places due to corporate interests and improper manufacturing and agriculture and things like that. Again, this may be difficult for some people to accept because they've been led to believe that mainstream media is my source of information. And even if some people don't think of their media as mainstream, it still kind of is. A lot of what people would think is alternative media is actually still owned by the same corporations and parent companies and influenced by the same organizations, shall we say, as the media that they're calling mainstream. So you really have to expand your sources and learn more from more places, which a lot of people think they're doing. It's just not as expanded or not as independent as they may have been led to believe, as they may think. So this particular narrative, which I resonate with, which makes sense to me, is that the origins of this pandemic are actually due to destruction of ecosystems by certain corporate interests. And yeah, it's the way they do things. I mean, pollution and environmental destruction shouldn't be a surprise to a lot of people. Uh, I think everyone is aware of that to some degree, that there are some really unhealthy practices, that Earth is being, taken advantage of and abused for resources, and some things and practices aren't really as positive or beneficial as they could be. It's damaging, the environment that we all depend on. So that part shouldn't be a surprise to most people, but just understanding how that happens and how that affects our health in terms of certain viruses exist within certain ecosystems that are then released if that ecosystem is destroyed or damaged. So that makes a lot of sense to me. It may not to some other people, but again, when I was turned on to that possibility and that reality, then I was like, yeah, yeah, that's a factor. That's real as well. So again, I find it very telling that this is never discussed. I've never heard this mentioned in mainstream media, and yet they are so quick to put the blame on human factors for climate change. So it's really the more I've learned, the more so much media just seems like lies or very limited information, very limited perspectives. So again, that's why I don't really pay much attention to it anymore, which will be obvious the more these you watch. I have found what I feel are better sources of information, and learned a lot more in my general studies of every subject. Again, that's why many people will not think I'm a scientist, because I disagree with so many of what mainstream scientists say. And well, so do a lot of people, because they do their own thinking, their own research, their own experimenting. So what you will find if you do that is that a lot of mainstream scientists have been misled, or are intentionally or unintentionally misleading others, because they have been misled. So that can be a tricky thing, a difficult thing for some to accept, because some of their, you may learn that some of your heroes weren't really as smart or as honest as you may think. I think this is a key piece of the puzzle here, because it gives you something more to do. Whereas, if you think that, oh, this is all manufactured by media or manufactured by certain intelligence agencies, which again, I'm not saying that they haven't been manipulating a lot of things, both viruses and information, but it doesn't really give you as much to work with. You can't really do as much about that. But if you think that, and if you know that certain viruses are caused by environmental destruction, well, then you can do something about that more. You can join a group that's planting trees and reestablishing ecosystems. Yeah, these are positive steps that people can take, groups that you can join, or just do it on an individual basis. I've heard of people planting a bunch of trees on their own. You can do it either in a group or by yourself. There's no end to the options, really. What people do will obviously be dependent on their own knowledge and interests and locations and all those factors. So that's why ultimately what you do is up to you. Hopefully, this is a helpful guide to some in order for them to understand more possibilities and see more reasons why certain things happen a certain way. So then you can do something about it that is more effective. Again, I feel this is critical and crucial for people to understand, because, again, to use the cancer analogy, it's as if you think you got cancer because someone looked at you funny, as opposed to recognizing real reasons why you got it. So again, I recognize there are other factors here. There are other realities which exist, and so you don't really have to say, oh, this is wrong, you're this or that, is really what's going on. Really, they're all going on, simultaneously. They're, just infinite parallel realities. So I understand that there are other things in play as well, but this is something that I haven't heard from most other sources that are talking about, this topic, which are quite a few, obviously. And so I feel that this is something that I can contribute and add to the discussion, and share what makes sense to me, and I know it makes sense to others as well. Not everybody, because again, everyone's got their own realities and beliefs and information and all that. So you don't have to appeal to everyone. You can just share what you have to share, and others will, some will agree and others won't. That's just the way things are. We have different perspectives. So that's really, key as well, kind of a tangent to this subject. But anytime you see someone that implies that, oh, it's only this way and no other way, that's a sign of limited perspective and limited information. So limited consciousness. It's not really like that. It's not, this or that. It's this and that and that and that. And really, all different perspectives are valid. Everyone's sharing their perspective and information as they have it. And we're constantly learning and growing and experiencing more and more. So this may not be the last time I post a video on this subject, the more I learn, but for now I feel this is important enough to share for others to understand and accept, as I have, this particular set of beliefs in this particular parallel reality where coronavirus is caused by environmental pollution and devastation of ecosystems. So I just like to reinforce that to a small degree, to kind of counter the bombardment of a very specific narrative that a lot of mainstream media is putting out there. But again, that's what some people believe, and that's fine for them. But it doesn't really make much sense to me, and I know a lot of other people too. So it's a fair question to ask: where am I getting this from? Why do I believe this? Sources of information to corroborate and investigate. So my first hint at this reality and truth, it's a truth for me. It feels true, and it corresponds and correlates to all these other things that I've learned. So I am getting this from Bashar, who to some is a very trusted source of information and guide, teacher. Now, not for everyone, of course. That's not true of anyone. No one is a guide or teacher for everyone. That's just not feasible and not necessary. So just for some of us, and so, but also, not just him. Some of his team as well, his co-workers, if you will. I apologize if there are some parts of these videos that I create that are blurry because this camera that I'm using has a mind of its own, and has its autofocus is a little wonky. It's not the best quality. I'm not making any money off these videos yet as of this recording, so any support I can get from anyone would be greatly appreciated. So please like and subscribe and share these videos as I'm trying to help and serve others. Right now I'm doing so for free because it's a good thing to do. And how easy and great is that all it takes is a couple clicks to help other people out these days. You don't actually have to send me money or anything. It's sort of built into how YouTube operates, that once you get a certain amount of viewers and subscribers, you can have ads that come up and have links to things underneath. But anyway, I'm not there yet as of right now. This is a very new channel still, but I've got plenty more videos to come on so many different subjects because there's no end of things to discuss and share and learn. So stay tuned, and until next time, thank you so much for watching. Infinite love and light as always.